Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Levite's Desk. I want to first thank everybody who sent a message, left a comment of support. It was incredible. I didn't expect the first video to do as well as it did, but I couldn't have done it without you guys. So thank you. For this week's video, I had the privilege to speak alongside my pastor and my friend Wisdom a message of hope. And so I want to show you guys an excerpt from that message. I'll leave a link to where you guys can watch the entire message. It's on my church's YouTube channel. I think you'll be really blessed by it. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
We must be people of hope. That fact is not up for dispute. And as Brother Wisdom explained, there is an important value in hope, especially for us as believers. But sometimes having hope is easier said than done.
It's true.
You think back to that thing that you've been struggling with for many months, years even. Is there hope there? Let's make it even more real. You've been praying and asking God to move, to intervene, to take over this situation, and it seems like he hasn't budged. It seems like he hasn't even heard you. Church, I say to you, it is not time to give up. It is not time to give up. In this season of Kingdom Tide or ordinary times in the church, we are to grow, to change, and ultimately transform. And so it's critical to understand and know that hope can be restored.
That's right.
It's easy to isolate yourself when you feel that loneliness or hopelessness setting in. It's actually the plan of the enemy for you to feel like there is no way out. Look at the story of Hannah in 1 Samuel. Hannah was one of the wives of Elkanah, the other being Peninnah. Now, Peninnah could have children, but Hannah could not. And because of this, for years, she endured constant bullying and ridicule at the hands of Peninnah. Now, you have to understand that in those times, if a woman could not have any kids, she was as good as worthless. She was as good as useless. And so the Bible displays Hannah as a woman who was devout, but her devotion to God didn't mean that she did not feel hopelessness. You can be loving God, you can be committed to God, you can be working in the church and still feel hopeless.
That's right.
And even in that, she prayed. And one year during her prayer, she encountered Eli, who thought she was drunk. But we see in 1 Samuel 1:16, Hannah says, "Don't think I am a wicked woman, for I have been praying out of great anguish and sorrow." In Hebrew, the term wicked woman is exchanged for the expression daughter of Belial, which is an expression used to describe a worthless or hopeless person. Hannah had lost hope. Hannah understood where she was and how she was perceived. Even Hannah, the mother of the great Samuel, went through a period, many years of hopelessness. It's believed that she had already been past childbearing age, which I can imagine only compounded that feeling of hopelessness. Yet, God came through. Another example is the story of Jonah. We generally understand it to be a story of God's mercy, and we even see a picture of God's wrath, but there is a story of hopelessness in there as well. See, Jonah didn't try to run from God because he just didn't feel like delivering that message. The city of Nineveh was a key city in the Assyrian Empire, and the city was especially known for its violence and being so large to the fact that when Jonah finally went, in Jonah 3, verse 3, it says that it took him 3 days to see the entire city. Now, Assyria had already conquered the northern kingdom of Israel, which left the southern kingdom, Judah, to fend for itself. God had commissioned Jonah to go and deliver a message during a time where Assyria was conquering and going after anything it could set its eyes on. Jonah didn't have any hope, that God's message would be received. Jonah felt so strongly so that he was planning to run all the way to Tarshish, which theologians mark as present-day Spain. Assyria is present-day Iran and Turkey. So imagine how far Jonah was planning to run from Spain to Turkey because he felt like there was no hope in his mission. Church, we all experience hopeless and impossible situations. But what we see as impossible, God sees as opportunity.
That's right.
What we see as impossible, God sees as opportunity to show his sovereignty
Yes.
and his omnipotence. So the question is, what restores hope? I'll answer that with this question. What makes a Roman soldier confident that he'll be successful in battle? Comrades? Yeah. Strategy? Also yes. But it's the soldier's armor that gives him hope and assurance that he will be victorious above all else.
That's right.
Church, some of us have lost our armor. Some of our armor has fallen off. We are not as prepared as we ought to be, and that has left us feeling exposed and hopeless. And so the way to restore hope is to put on the armor of God, because it's only through his protection that we can stand firm against the strategies of the enemy.
Yes.
In Ephesians 6, verse 13 to 17, Paul writes, "Therefore, put on every piece of God's armor, so you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. Then after the battle, you will be standing firm. Stand your ground, putting on the belt of truth, the body armor of God's righteousness. For shoes, put on the peace that comes from the good news, so that you will be fully prepared. In addition to all of these, hold up the shield of faith to stop the fiery arrows of the devil. Put salvation as your helmet, and take the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God." Paul uses the physical armor as imagery for our spiritual armor. And notice that most of this equipment is meant for defense. That is because God has promised to be our offense. All we have to do is stand our ground.
That's right.
So putting on the armor of God means that instead of abandoning hope, solidify yourself in what you know to be strong and everlasting. And what is that? That is God. So there are times where you will feel hopeless. And in those times where all hope is lost, remember that restoration comes when you encase yourself in God. Your hopelessness turns not just into hope, but into faith. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and not just enjoyed it, but were blessed by it. I think the message is really fitting for the times that we're living in. So yeah, that's it. Also, quick shout out to my other friend, close friend, Kaylin, who made this beat. I appreciate it, man. It sounds amazing. I'll link his Instagram below as well. That's it. Peace.